Seeing the Democrats in the United States react to the election made me aware of something that I've suspected for a very long time, and that is people in general just have no idea on how to effectively influence other people. I originally noticed this watching New Atheist Movement. I'm an atheist myself, and I was always finding those debates interesting, but I couldn't help but notice that all of those debates only hardened the position of religious fundamentalists. It didn't moderate their position. And to me, it felt odd that these atheist leaders couldn't see that they were kind of doing more harm than good. Watch this clip from the movie No Country for Old Men, where a psychopath confronts someone he's about to kill.
You go to hell.
All right. Let me ask you something. If the rule you followed, Brojo that is, of what use was the rule?
That bit about if the plan is what brought you here, of what use was the plan? This is what I'm talking about here today. So many people apply a certain approach to try and influence the outcome of something. They lose and they don't question the approach. The simple fact is, if your approach to swaying people to vote for Harris over Trump didn't work, then it's not a good approach, or at least it's not the best available approach. If your approach for swaying people who are religious over to a more moderate and compassionate viewpoint didn't work, then your approach is not the best approach. Your methodology is dictated by the results. If the results were a loss, then the methodology sucks. And so clinging to it is absolute insanity. For those of you who don't know me, I spend a lot of my career rehabilitating hardened criminal offenders. Okay, I received top training from psychologists and psychiatrists from around the world on how to motivate people to change. I do know what I'm fucking talking about when it comes to influencing people to change long-standing behaviors. Career criminals are the hardest minds in the world to change, and I can change their minds. So when I say that I'm watching how you guys influence people and it's not working, maybe you should have a little listen. We go to the election. If your goal was to persuade sort of moderate and democratic people and maybe sort of slightly right people to come and vote for Kamala Harris, and your methodology was to shit on Trump nonstop, berate and belittle his supporters, call him all these names, push woke agendas, whatever your plan was, then of what use was the plan? You lost the election. If, as an atheist, your goal is to sway fundamentalist religious people into a more moderate position and possibly even get them to leave their faith, and what we can see lately is that fundamentalism and extremist religious views are on the up, then of what use was your plan? I think what we do is we confuse righteousness, the sense, the feeling that we are on the right team and that what we're saying is true, with effectiveness of our messaging. We think because we feel that we're right, then however we put that out must influence people towards our position. And that is not how human psychology works. Of what use is the plan? Remember, if what you're doing has worked, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. Your person would have won the election. There'd be no more religions. What you're doing doesn't work. By the way, I should state at this point, I don't really have a dog in the race with the US election or with religions versus atheism. I'm just using these as examples. What's probably happened if you felt that you were on the winning side and you're shocked by the loss, or you just can't understand it, or you think the other side is stupid or cruel, or whatever it is you're using to justify the fact that your method didn't work, you've probably been manipulated by feedback that made you think you were changing minds, when actually what you're really seeing is the people who already agreed with you continuing to agree with you. So let's say you're some online influencer and you make a big post about how Trump's awful, and you get all these likes and all these comments, and you couldn't be more right and so on. It makes you feel like you're having an influence. But all you've done is validate beliefs that people already had. There's nobody in that comment section who's changed their mind because of you. Hell, with the algorithms, they might not have even seen what you said in the first place. And it's the same with I think, I saw this with the atheist movement. All these atheists started to come out of hiding, especially in more Muslim countries where it's so much more dangerous, coming out and saying, you know what, thank you guys for saying all this stuff because, I was scared my family would react. And you guys, that's a great result for somebody who wants to escape. But they were already an atheist. You didn't actually change their mind. Now, I'm not saying you've never ever changed anyone's mind, but was it the most effective approach? Did you win the election? Is the result matching up with your goal? See, when you want to influence people, you have to get very clear on what your goal is. And if your goal is not just to pump up your own ego and be provocative and look like a cool person, if you actually want to change things, then you've got to ask, is what I'm doing in service of the goal? Because whatever your ego wants to do should be put aside if it's not in service of the goal. Yes? Because if you're not clear on the goal, your ego will take over. And that is what I've seen from the Democratic side of things in the United States. See, my news feeds, my algorithms, and social media and stuff are very balanced because I'm equally interested in both sides of the argument. So I often get one left, one right, one left, one right, like this. And I get the same thing with religion and atheism. I get some scientists talking about how the Bible couldn't be true, followed by a priest talking about the metaphor that makes it true, and so on. And so I can see what people are trying to do, and I can see how well it's actually affecting the other side. See, on the Democrat American politics side of things, I see the influencers, the online voices, whether they're high profile news media or just random people on TikTok, they're always ostracizing Trump voters, saying that they're stupid, they're sexist bigots, that they're going to destroy the country. I've seen people actually leaving their partners now that the election's over, or at least claiming that that's what they're doing, that they're, going to abandon their partner because he or she voted the other way. You've already tried that approach. You've already tried shitting on the other side and making them look like they're morally inferior to you and making it look like they're stupider than you and all that. You've tried that approach. It didn't fucking work. Your one lost the election. It's not a good approach. If it was a good approach, you would have won. Whatever Trump's approach was better than yours. That's what you got to get your head around. If your goal is really to win the election and to have a democracy and have liberal views rule the moral sphere or the governing sphere, then you got to understand your method didn't work. You might have felt righteous, you might have felt like the big person, you might have felt smart and smug and superior, but you lost. You got to understand, I'm quite liberal minded in my own political views for the most part, and it's quite heartbreaking to see how badly you guys fumbled this. Donald Trump, are you kidding? That's a gimme. Half the things that come out of his mouth don't make sense. The other half are lies. You should have won this one. But your method sucked. All you did is create a backlash. This blew up in your face, and it was your fault. I see guys like Sam Harris and Dawkins and in the old days Hitchens constantly tell religious people that their scripture is untrue. They try to debunk it. They tell them that it's evil. They even attack new moderates like Jordan Peterson. The people are coming in with a watered down version of religion. They attack that as fiercely as possible, as if that's not an upgrade on old fundamentalist religious views. You've already tried this. It didn't work. This attacking people on science and truth and calling them evil and questioning their morals, all that did was band them together and harden their views. Now, if that's what you wanted, congratulations, goal achieved. But if you actually don't want that, then you have to adjust your approach to something that actually fucking works. Because for all the rationality you think you have and for all the intelligence you think you have, surely you can't have overlooked the obvious one. You can't ostracize people and then hope that they'll join your team. Right? You can't reject people and then hope that they'll come to you. That doesn't make sense. So you can go ahead patting yourself on the back for being the smarter people in the argument and whatever else it is that you tell yourself. But how dumb are you if you think being mean to people would make them sympathetic to your cause? You do not understand basic human emotional psychology if that's what you think is going to happen. I used to see this a lot in Department of Corrections. It was very heartbreaking and hard to watch. Our number one approach to dealing with sex offenders is to shame them, punish them, harm them as much as possible. Unfortunately, statistically speaking, that's the leading factor or one of the leading factors in the offending. So we actually increase their risk of reoffending when we do this to them. And we also make the others out there who haven't offended yet too afraid to stand out and say, I might do this. And so they end up doing it instead of just talking about it. We shoot ourselves in the foot with our old school vengeance style approach to dealing with sex offenders. So ironically, when you get all righteous and you shame sex offenders and you say you want to kill them all and all that kind of stuff that makes you feel really good and gets all the likes on Facebook, you condemn more children to being abused. You're actually contributing to the cause of children being abused. Now, surely that's not your goal. Surely you'd like to reduce offending, right? But what if I was to tell you that the thing that would reduce sex offending is the thing you're really uncomfortable doing? Would you still do it, or would you rather be righteous? You have to make a decision, and the decision's all yours. Do you want to feel righteous, or do you want to actually win? Because you can't have both. Do you want to get revenge on people who voted for Trump? Or in the next election, would you rather they voted blue? Because you can't have both. Do you want to embarrass religious leaders and make yourself look smarter than them? Or do you want to actually moderate religious people's views so that they're less harmful? Because you can't have both. Do you want to beat the shit out of sex offenders and exclude them from society? Or do you want less children to be abused? Because you can't have both. That's the horrible truth. Your ego must be put aside if you want effective results. It's as simple as that. You have to choose. And if you watch this and then continue to use a method that doesn't work, you must admit to yourself, this is about ego. This is about me. This isn't about changing or helping other people. It's about me feeling good about me. I'm actually going to let people get more harm so that I can feel good about me. Because it's the hardest choice in the world. It took me years of training when I was working in corrections to make this shift myself, to be able to walk into a room with a criminal whose behavior I disagreed with so strongly and be able to put that aside, put my hate aside, to engage with that person in a way that made them less likely to do that behavior, to do what's right for society rather than what feels good for me. It's one of the hardest things in the world to this day. I still struggle with it. I am sympathetic for your struggle, but I have no tolerance for your ego. I'm not going to tell you that you being righteous is a good way of doing things because it's simply not. You want to know what the most effective method is? You're going to hate it. Oh, fuck, you're going to hate it. Love. Sounds very woo-woo, doesn't it? But you can't beat hate with hate. You beat it with love, and more particularly, if you want to get all scientific on it, oxytocin. It is very hard for somebody to dismiss you, hate you, and so on if they get a flood of oxytocin through their system whenever they see you. If somebody feels love towards you and feels love from you, it softens their cognitive biases. All right, that's the way in. One way to look at it is oxytocin changes beliefs. Let's say I'm a hardcore racist. It's very hard for me to keep being racist if I find a black dude who I really like and who's really good to me. It hurts my old belief system, and there's a little gap in the armor now that some information might be able to get through. If you make them love you, it will weaken their in-group bias. Okay, if they think it's them versus us, and you show that one of the thems is actually a pretty decent person, then it blurs the lines between them and us. It makes them more open to moderate their position on various points. If you show that you understand them, or at least really want to understand them and are trying to understand them, it'll reduce their resistance. We used to do this with working with criminal offenders. If I show that I wasn't resistant to the idea that they're a good person and that I wanted to understand why they do what they do, even though it was incomprehensible behavior to me, I wanted to get to the point where I understood why it seemed like a good idea to them. Suddenly their resistance would just melt away, and now I can rehabilitate them. Now I can walk through that open door and start nudging them in different directions. If you acknowledge them, their basic humanity, if you respect them as one of your equals, it will confuse their sense of conflict. They won't be able to see you as an enemy anymore because an enemy wouldn't treat them this way. I mean, this is so important for the Democrat versus Republican thing in the United States at the moment. All you guys now abandoning all Trump supporters and saying, you're not in my life, stop following my page, break up with you, I'm never going to have sex with someone who supported Trump. All that stuff, all you're doing is building a nice big fortress around their side so that they can never get out. This is actually, in my opinion, what lost you the election. You pushed so hard to the left that the people in the middle ended up on the right. And then when they found themselves in that position, you ridiculed them and abused them and ostracized them, thinking somehow that would make them come over to the left. All it did was harden their position. The people on the right just opened their arms and said, "We accept you. We love you. We agree with your ideas. Come to us. We understand you." It was the easiest campaign in the world for Trump to win this election. The Democrats handed it to him. But if you acknowledge people and say, "Look, even though you're all the way over there on the other side of the spectrum, I know you've got your reasons for being there. I know you found your way to those beliefs in a similar way I found my way to mine. And we're both humans. And actually, a lot of the time, we just want what's best for ourselves and our loved ones. We want to live in a place where we feel safe and happy. We're kind of in the same game here. We just got these different ideas as to how it will work. Let's talk about it." That's how you move someone closer to your position. You fixate on your commonalities and you have compassion for them. And that will create cognitive dissonance, which will do the rest. Most of my work as a probation officer with criminals was just to help them see that of all the government officers they've ever worked with, I was somebody who actually cared for them. That was pretty much all I had to do. The rehabilitation would be mostly them after that. But their resistance to law enforcement and to government made it so impossible to rehabilitate them. All I had to do was break down that resistance by showing them, like, I actually see you as a human being. You're not just a number to me. I believe you have a backstory that makes sense of your behavior, and I'm willing to listen to it. That's all I had to do. It was actually really fucking easy. But emotionally, it was very hard because I had to let go of my need for vengeance and hate and all those base desires. So, you can keep doing the way that didn't work and somehow restructure your brain to tell yourself that it's a good idea, or you can put your ego aside, look across the room at your fellow human beings, and try to understand how you guys ended up so far apart and what would bring the two of you back together. And that is how you actually influence people. Are you a nice guy or people pleaser who wishes they were more assertive, more honest, and better respected by others? Since 2013, I've been helping people just like you discover their integrity and apply it courageously to build deep and meaningful connections, get respected by others, and become the confident person you've always wanted to be. Imagine being able to speak your mind without worrying what other people will think or worrying that it's the right thing to say, and being able to assertively stand up for yourself and your loved ones. Imagine never feeling the need to apologize for who you are or what you want, and being able to live carefree without shame or the "I'm not good enough" story in your head. Imagine going to bed knowing that you courageously took every opportunity available to you and you've got no regrets because you always know what you should be doing in every situation. I'm so confident in my ability to help people like you unleash your highest level of self-worth that I give people a free coaching session to test what I'm doing. In this 1 hour session, we will uncover the biggest barrier to your confidence, whether it's an awareness problem, you don't know what you should be doing differently, or it's a courage problem, you know what you should be doing, but you find it too intimidating. I will guide you to make a breakthrough with your behavior to get through that barrier in a powerful way without feeling terrified and without destroying everything you love. I've had some people find this first session so powerful that I never hear from them again simply because they didn't need anything more after that. It launched them into the highest level of confidence that they've ever experienced. And if that's the result you get, I'm good with that. One client put it, "This session was more valuable to me than 3 years of therapy combined." So if you're tired of trying to keep everybody happy and you're sick of worrying what other people think of you, and you're concerned that your people pleasing and conflict avoidance is going to damage your relationships, then come and have a talk with me. Worst case scenario, you get to experience what it's like to talk with someone who actually understands what it's like to be you. I've lived the nice guy experience for decades. I know it inside and out. I know that pain. Case scenario, and very likely, you will have such a powerful insight into a behavioral change that you can make in the next 24 hours to significantly improve your confidence, relationships, and career. All I ask is that you be honest, open to change, and willing to try something new. Why wait another 10 years to discover confidence when you can do it today? Fill out the brief form below to apply for a trial coaching session. And do this quickly because there are limited spots each month. And then I'll get back to you to book in a time to talk.